I've been asked a few times whether an introvert can make a good business analyst, but before I answer that, let's define what an introvert versus an extrovert is, just so we can be on the same page. At a high level, extroverts are people who are described as basically getting their mojo from being around others. Common things said about extroverts that are relevant to professional life are that they like to communicate by talking, enjoy being the center of attention, enjoy group work, and they like to look to others and outside sources for ideas and inspiration. Introverts, on the other hand, are the most in their element when they are working alone. Common traits of introverts are that they prefer time to themselves, are drained by social interactions, prefer working alone, are introspective and curious, and prefer writing over talking. A business analyst's key job is to work as a team with developers, stakeholders, end users, and so forth to solve problems and define solutions. At a surface level, it almost seems obvious that an extrovert would have a clear advantage in business analysis. However, that just isn't true. But before I get into that, there are two very important things you need to understand. First, nobody is fully extroverted or introverted. Like most things in life, the vast majority of people fall somewhere in between, and perhaps favor one way or another. I, for example, am mostly introverted. However, I enjoy playing team sports, and I enjoy doing things like dancing on stage. Second, there's no trait we exhibit that can't be overcome. There's a common saying that courage isn't about being fearless, it's about having fear and acting anyway. In other words, having the attitude of doing what needs to be done despite what you might feel inside. I would argue that this is one of the key attributes of being successful in literally anything. In this case, just because I prefer to work alone doesn't mean I can't thrive if I have to work as a group. So your natural inclination isn't necessarily your destiny. All that being said, I'm going to talk about 3 key traits of introverts that provide some advantages over extroverts. Number 1, introverts tend to be very independent. They require less supervision and are better about not getting distracted by socializing. Also, due to the desire to be more independent, they will be much more focused on acquiring skills and knowledge that allows them to work more independently. In my case, I try to take the time to learn the different tools, applications, and processes that I'll be working with as much as possible on my own, so I don't have to go back and ask questions or set up new meetings for every little thing. When I do set up meetings, they tend to be more productive because I ask deeper and better questions. Number 2, introverts tend to be better at focusing. Introverts like to immerse themselves into independent activities, and sometimes the most valuable analysis can only be achieved through tedious, focused work, like digging through a bunch of documents, aggregating a bunch of poorly collected data, or reorganizing a bunch of requirements for speedy comprehension. Many times in the professional world, you'll find yourself saying, this would be so much easier or smoother if the data was set up like this, or if people would do things like that. Sometimes doing the tedious work up front equates to fewer but more productive group meetings. Last but not least, number 3, introverts tend to be good listeners. If we're doing personality trait math, then not wanting to talk much or be the center of attention, plus being able to focus, would equal being a good listener. Personally, I prefer to make sure I understand before I start making my points. I like to understand not just a problem, but how other people view that problem and maybe their feelings on that problem before I start speaking. At most, I like to ask questions to steer and then let others do most of the talking. This allows me to approach the problem and work with stakeholders more intelligently. In the long run, this builds a lot of trust with my stakeholders because they feel that I understand their needs. An analyst who's too quick to prove how smart they are might express their ideas or opinions too soon, and that doesn't allow others to necessarily fully express themselves. So for all you introverts out there, not only can you be a good analyst, but you can be a great analyst by understanding how to use your qualities to the best advantage, and by understanding that you can learn to do what needs to be done even if it's not your natural inclination. I hope that was helpful and inspiring for all you introverts out there, and also for those of you who have introverts in your life who maybe might need a little bit of inspiring. If you have any questions or thoughts, let me know in the comments, or if you have any questions about anything related to business analysis or IT professions in general, ask them in the comments and I'll answer you there, or I'll create a whole new video to answer your question, so subscribe to see those questions get answered. And thanks for watching.